Listen, I never thought I would say this out loud, but I kept noticing something strange about Eli Crowder. And at first, I told myself, maybe it's normal. Maybe men do this when they think nobody is watching. Eli was the man who owned the Sawmill Road, the loud boots, the big laugh, the kind of neighbor who acts like he runs the whole ridge, even when he doesn't. He lived 2 fences away from me. And after my husband died, Eli was around more than I wanted. Not rude, not kind either, just present. The strange thing wasn't his words. It was what he did with his hands. Before we continue, if you are new on my channel, please like this video and comment where you are listening from. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell notification icon so that you will be the first to be notified anytime I drop a new story. Let's continue. Every time Eli came near my building site, he would pick up a pinch of dust or grit from the ground and rub it between his fingers. Slow, like he was testing it, like he was counting something only he could feel. The first time, I barely noticed. I was laying out stone with my gloves on, my hair tied back, sweat on my neck. The sun was bright, and the wind was dry enough to crack your lips. Eli stopped on the other side of my fence and called, "Mara, you still stacking rocks like you're building a fort?" He laughed. Big and easy. I forced a small smile. "It's not a fort. It's a house." He put his boot up on the fence rail, leaned, and talked like we were old friends. But while he talked, his fingers reached down. He pinched the dirt by my fence post and rubbed it like he was making flour. I remember thinking, maybe it's a sawmill habit, like checking wood grain, but with soil. So I ignored it. I kept working. But then it happened again. 2 days later, I rode into town for nails and lamp oil. When I came back, I saw Eli by my wagon track, not on his land, on mine, just standing there, looking down, his hat low, and, again, those fingers. Pinch, rub, let it fall. I slowed my horse. "Eli, can I help you?" He looked up like I had surprised him. "Just admiring your stone pile?" "It's not a pile," I said. "It's my foundation." Eli nodded like he agreed, but his eyes did not agree. His eyes went to the lumber stacked by my shed, the few boards I had saved for doors and window frames. Then he did it again. Pinch, rub, release. Right on my track, right where my wheels cut the dirt. My stomach tightened a little, and I didn't know why. I told myself, "Mara, don't be jumpy. You're alone now. That's why everything feels sharp." I led my horse past him. I kept my voice calm. "I'm busy." He smiled. "I see that." He walked away like nothing happened, but the feeling stayed, like a burr under my saddle. That night, I locked my door twice. Not because of Eli. That's what I told myself. Because of wolves. Because of coyotes. Because the wind was loud. But still, I locked it twice. The next time was worse. It was Sunday morning. Quiet morning. The kind of morning where the world feels like it is holding its breath. I was mixing mud, mortar, clay, water, straw, using a shovel in a trough. My arms ached. My back ached. But I liked the ache. It meant the house was getting closer. My stone walls were only waist high, but they were straight. They were solid. They were mine. Then I heard boots. Eli again. And not just boots. A second set, lighter. A boy. Eli walked up with his nephew, Tommy, maybe 12 years old. Tommy had hair like dry grass and eyes that watched everything. Eli said, loud enough for the boy to hear, "This is Mara Quinn, widow woman with a stubborn head." I didn't like that. I smiled anyway. "Morning." Tommy looked at my stones like they were strange animals. Eli stepped closer. Too close. And there it was again. Pinch. Rub. Release. This time, it wasn't dirt. It was my mortar. He reached toward the trough like he owned it, took a bit between his fingers, and rolled it. I slapped the shovel down hard. "Eli, don't." Eli froze. Then he laughed like I had told a joke. "It's just mud, Mara." "It's not your mud," I said. My voice came out sharper than I meant. Tommy's eyes flicked between us. Eli held up his hands like he was harmless, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. All right. No need to bite." He stepped back, but before he backed away fully, he nodded at my stone wall. "You know what folks say, Mara?" he asked. I kept my face still. I try not to. Eli leaned toward Tommy like he was teaching him something. "They say she's trying to shame us, like we're fools, living in pine boxes." I didn't speak. My throat was tight. Eli continued, "They say she thinks she's better." Tommy stared at my stones again, almost like he believed them. I felt heat in my cheeks, not from the sun, from being watched. I said quietly, "I'm not building stone to shame anyone." Eli's eyes narrowed just for a second. "Then why stone, Mara?" There it was, the question everyone asked. Because stone costs more time, more sweat, more pain. Because wood is easier, faster, cheaper. I could have told him the simple answer, that wood burns. That stone does not. But I didn't say that. Not yet. I just said, because it's my land, my house. Eli tilted his head. "And your money?" That hit me like a slap. Because yes, that was the real stake. Money. I didn't have much. My husband Luke had left me the land, a few cattle, and a name that still felt too big to carry alone. The bank in town had been polite so far. But politeness has an end. If I ran out of money before the house was finished, I would lose everything. Land, cows, my future, maybe my freedom. Eli knew that. Everyone did. I kept my voice level. "I'm managing." Eli smiled. "Managing. That's a good word. Means you're still one bad season away from begging." Tommy's face went pale, like he didn't like hearing that about a woman standing right there. Eli waved his hand like he didn't care. "I'm saying it because it's true." I stared at Eli. "Why are you really here?" He spread his arms. "To help." I almost laughed. Eli pointed at my lumber stack. "I can sell you good pine. You stop wasting time on stone, you'll have a roof before the first cold." "I don't want pine," I said. Eli's smile fell a little. "You don't want help." "I didn't say that." "You did," Eli said, stepping closer again. "With your stones." And then, like he couldn't help himself, he did it again. Pinch, rub, release. But this time, his fingers were on something else. Not dirt, not mortar. He reached down and touched the black line that ran from my fire pit toward the dry grass. A long, thin trail. I hadn't noticed it earlier. My stomach dropped, because that line wasn't supposed to be there. Eli rubbed the black ash between his fingers and stared at it like it told him a story. Then he looked at me, slowly. And he said, "You been burning out here at night, Mara?" My mouth went dry. "What?" Tommy leaned in, eyes wide, seeing the black trail too. Eli pointed at the grass, then at my half-built wall. Ash trail, fresh. I felt cold, even in the sun, because I hadn't burned anything out here at night. Not once. I stepped closer and looked hard. It was real. A streak of ash, like someone dragged a stick of charcoal across the ground. It ran toward the back of my property, toward the dry brush, toward the place where the wind always ran fastest. My heart started to thump. Normal confusion, discomfort. Now it tipped into fear. Eli's voice turned softer, like he was being kind. "You gotta be careful, widow woman. Fire don't care about your stones." And I stared at his hands, those fingers, that rubbing, and for the first time, I wondered something I didn't want to wonder. Was Eli checking the ground because he was worried, or because he was doing something? I swallowed and forced myself to speak. "Eli, why do you keep rubbing dirt like that?" Eli blinked. "What?" You do it every time you come here, I said. You pick up dirt. You rub it. Like you're testing it. Like you're looking for something. Tommy held his breath. Eli's face went blank for half a heartbeat. Then he laughed again. Mara, you see ghosts and dust. That's your problem. That's not an answer, I said. Eli shrugged. I'm a sawmill man. I check things. That's all. But why my place? I asked, voice shaking now. Why my track? Why my mortar? Why this ash trail? Eli's eyes hardened. Because you're building a stone house like you're daring the whole ridge to hate you. My hands curled into fists. So you came to scare me? Eli stepped in close enough that I could smell pine sap on his clothes. No, he said. I came to remind you you're alone. Tommy flinched at that. Eli looked at the boy, then back at me, like he remembered he had an audience. His voice softened again. You want a warning? He said. Here it is. Folks don't like being laughed at, and they don't like being shamed. I didn't shame anybody, I whispered. Eli tipped his hat. Maybe you didn't mean to. He turned to leave. Tommy started to follow, then paused. He looked back at me, and his voice came out small. Miss Mara, I saw Uncle Eli out here last night. Everything in me went still. My mouth opened, but no sound came out. Tommy's eyes darted to Eli's back, scared. Then he whispered, quick, like he was dropping a hot stone. He had a lantern, and he was dragging something, like a sack. Eli stopped walking. He didn't turn around yet, but his shoulders went tight, and I felt the whole world shift right there in my yard, with my half-built stone wall and that thin black ash trail pointing into dry grass. Eli turned his head just enough to look at Tommy. His voice was calm, too calm. Tommy, he said, you talk too much. And then he looked at me, and he smiled. Not friendly, not even cruel. Just sure, like he knew something I didn't, like he knew what would happen next. And that's when I realized someone had been laying a path of fire on my land, and I was standing right in the middle of it. I stared at the ash trail, then at Eli's smile, and I heard a soft crackle from the brush line behind my barn, like something had just caught. Listen, I did not run right away. I know that sounds crazy, but when you have been alone for a long time, your brain does this stupid thing. It tries to explain danger so you don't panic. So when I heard that soft crackle behind the barn, I told myself, maybe it's just dry twigs settling. Maybe it's normal. Maybe it's nothing. Then I smelled it. Smoke. Not from my fire pit. Not from my stove. This was sharp, bitter, new. I turned fast, and my heart kicked hard like a horse in a narrow stall. Eli, I said, low. Do you smell that? Eli kept smiling. Smell what, Mara? Tommy's face went white. He looked past me, toward the brush line. Then he whispered, It's fire. That word hit my chest. Fire. I ran. I didn't think. I didn't plan. I grabbed the water bucket by my trough and sprinted behind the barn. My boots pounded dirt. My breath tore in my throat. And there it was. A small flame licking up dry grass like it was tasting it. Just a small flame. But the wind was up. And dry wind is not a friend. Dry wind is a hand that pushes fire forward. I threw the bucket. Water splashed. Steam jumped. The flame shrank, but it did not die. It crawled sideways, hungry, reaching for more grass. I grabbed a wet sack from my wash line and slapped it down. Hard. Again. Again. The flame hissed. For 1 second, I thought, I got it. Then the wind shifted, and the fire jumped like it had legs. It landed in the brush line, and the brush line caught like it had been waiting. A fast whoosh, like a breath, like a beast waking up. My stomach dropped so low it felt like it left my body. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a spark. This was set up because the flame didn't start in one spot. I saw it then. Tiny points of orange in 2 places. 3, like someone had made a trail, My eyes flew to the ash line in the yard. My hands shook. I ran back out, coughing, and there was Eli still standing there, calm as a man watching rain. Tommy was backing away from him now, like he finally understood what kind of man his uncle could be. I pointed at the smoke. "My land is burning!" Eli lifted his shoulders. "Wind does what it does." I stared at him. "You were here last night." Eli's eyes narrowed. "Tommy's a boy. Boys dream." Tommy flinched. "I didn't dream." Eli snapped his head toward the boy. "Quiet." That one word made Tommy's mouth shut like a trap. And that did something inside me, because I had seen that look before. Not on Eli. On men who think fear is a tool. I swallowed hard. "Eli, tell me the truth." Eli walked a slow circle, like he was enjoying the moment. Then he stopped and looked right at my stone wall. "You really think those rocks make you special?" he said. I felt my voice shake. "This is my home." Eli nodded. "And you're making the rest of us look like fools with our wood houses." "I'm not." "Yes, you are," he said, cutting me off. "Every time you stack another stone, it's like you're saying, 'Look at me. I'm smarter. I'm safer.'" My chest squeezed. "I'm just trying to survive." Eli smiled again. "So are we." I stared at him. My mind raced. Money, land, reputation. If my place burned, I would lose everything. If people believed I started the fire myself, I would lose more than land. I would lose my name. I took a step closer. "Did you do this to scare me into buying your pine?" Eli's smile softened, like he liked that I was thinking. "You said it, not me." My hands curled. I wanted to hit him, but I didn't, because I knew what that would cost me. A widow can't afford to look wild, not with a banknote hanging over her head, not with neighbors waiting for a reason to call her trouble. So I did the only thing I could do. I made a decision. I said, "Tommy, go to town, now." Tommy blinked, but "Now," I said. "Firm. Ride hard. Tell Sheriff Boone there's fire on Quinland. Tell him it was not an accident." Eli's eyes flashed. "Mara, don't." That was the first time he sounded like he didn't like where this was going. Tommy hesitated, looking at Eli like he might get in trouble. I softened my voice just a little. "Tommy, please, if you care about anyone on this ridge, go." Tommy swallowed and nodded once. He ran. Eli took one step like he might grab the boy. I stepped in front of him. "Touch him, and I will scream so loud the whole ridge will hear." Eli stopped. The fire behind the barn grew louder, crackling, popping. Then I heard something worse. A deep roar. The brush line was turning into a wall of flame, and the wind was pushing it toward the ridge where the neighbors lived. Wood homes, dry porches, haystacks, oil lamps, a whole row of houses built like kindling. My mouth went dry. "If that fire reaches the ridge..." Eli's eyes slid toward the smoke. For the first time, his face changed. Just a little. A flicker of worry. Because this was bigger than teaching a widow a lesson. I grabbed my shovel. "Help me dig a fire break." Eli stared at me. "You think I'm your worker now? You think you're safe?" I snapped. "That fire does not care about your pride." Eli didn't move. So I did. I ran to the brush edge and started hacking a line through dry grass, throwing dirt over flames. My arms burned. My lungs burned. I coughed so hard my eyes watered. I dragged wet sacks. I stomped sparks. But the wind kept feeding it. The fire kept climbing. And then, like the world wanted to punish me, I saw a spark land on my lumber stack by the shed. My boards, my door frames, my future. One spark, then two. Then the pine caught. Fast, like it had been waiting to burn. I let out a sound I didn't mean to make, half cry, half shout. "No!" I ran for it. I tried to pull boards away with my bare hands. The heat slapped my face. A board burned my palm. Pain shot up my arm. I dropped it, biting my lip to keep from screaming. And that's when I heard Eli behind me. He wasn't laughing now. He was cursing. "Damn it," he said. He grabbed a board and threw it off the stack. Then another. Then he kicked dirt at the flames. He was helping. Not because he cared about me, because now the fire was real. Now it had teeth. Now it could bite him too. The wind picked up again, and the flames stretched toward the ridge like long fingers. In the distance, I heard shouting. A bell. Town bell. Someone had seen the smoke. People were coming, and that's when the neighbors appeared on the road. Not a crowd. Just 3 men on horses. One of them was Harlan Pike, the loudest man on the ridge. He had mocked my stone house the most. He pointed at my land and yelled, "Mara, what did you do?" My throat tightened. There it was. The danger I feared almost as much as the fire. Blame. Harlan rode closer, eyes wide, and shouted, "You trying to burn us all out, you crazy widow?" I coughed and yelled back, "I didn't start this." Harlan pointed toward my fire pit. "Then why is your land the first one burning?" Eli stepped behind me, quiet. Too quiet. Like he was letting Harlan talk. Letting Harlan believe. Letting the story form the way he wanted. My stomach turned, because I understood something in a sharp, sick moment. Eli didn't need to confess. He just needed the ridge to decide I was guilty. That would destroy me. Bank would take my land. Neighbors would turn their backs. No one would help me rebuild. I would be done. I looked at Eli, and I saw it plain. He was waiting for the fire to do the rest. I stepped forward, coughing smoke, and I shouted, "Harlan, look at the ground! There's an ash trail, like a path!" Harlan narrowed his eyes. "What?" I ran to the yard, grabbed a lantern, and held it low. The ash line showed clear now, like a dark snake across dirt, pointing from near the fence to the brush. Harlan stared. His face changed. Confusion. Then discomfort. Then suspicion aimed at me. Still. He said, "That could be from your own fire, Mara." My heart pounded. I needed one thing. One proof. One witness. I turned and looked down the road. "Please. Please." Then I heard hoofbeats. Fast. Tommy. He came back with Sheriff Boone. Sheriff Boone was a hard man with a gray mustache and eyes that missed nothing. He pulled up, took one look at the smoke, and barked orders. "Men! Fire line! Buckets! Now!" Then his eyes landed on me. "Mara Quinn," he said. "Talk." My mouth opened, and before I could speak, Eli spoke first. Smooth as oil. "Sheriff," Eli said, "I came by and found her place already burning. I tried to help, but she's been acting strange lately." My blood went cold. Strange. That word could ruin me. Sheriff Boone looked at me like he didn't know who to believe. My voice shook. "He's lying." Eli pointed toward my stone wall. "Ask her why she's building a stone house like she's expecting a fire." Silence hit hard. Even the wind felt quiet for half a second, because that question landed on everyone's fear. Fire fear. And in that moment, I knew. If I answered wrong, I would lose everything. I looked at Sheriff Boone, then at Harlan, then at the smoke crawling toward the ridge, and I said, very softly, "Sheriff, I need to tell you something I haven't told anybody." And as I said it, a huge gust of wind blew. The fire jumped the line we dug. It leaped like a wild animal, straight toward Harlan Pike's wooden house on the ridge. Harlan turned and screamed, "My house!" And Sheriff Boone shouted, "Ride! Now!" I stood frozen for one breath, because the only safe place left might be my half-built stone walls, and I had to decide if I would open my land to the same neighbors who wanted me ruined. Listen, the hardest part was not the fire. It was the choice, because when the wind pushed those flames up the ridge, I saw something in Harlan Pike's eyes that I had not seen before. Fear. Not anger. Not pride. Fear. His wooden house sat first on the rise. Dry boards, dry porch, hay, stacked near the back. Perfect food for fire. He kicked his horse and rode hard. Sheriff Boone shouted orders. Men ran with buckets. Women screamed from the road. And I stood there, smoke in my throat, watching the fire move like it had a mind. It didn't care who started it. It didn't care who mocked me. It only wanted more. I turned and looked at my stone walls. Waist high, thick, solid. The only thing on that whole stretch of land that could not burn. And in that second, something inside me settled. I dropped my fear, and I picked up my voice. "Sheriff!" I shouted. "Bring them here!" Sheriff Boone stared at me. "What?" "Bring the women and children to my place," I yelled. "The stone walls will hold." Harlan spun in his saddle. "You think we're hiding behind your rocks?" The fire answered him with a loud roar. A spark hit his porch roof. Smoke curled up like a snake. Harlan's face went white. He looked at me again. And this time, he didn't see a widow trying to shame him. He saw safety. I ran to the center of my half-built house and shouted, "Move! Now! If you wait, you'll lose more than pride." Sheriff Boone made the call. "Pike family to Quinland! Go!" That was all it took. The women ran first. 2 of Harlan's girls, hair flying. His wife, holding a baby tight to her chest. They rushed inside my stone frame. The walls were not finished. No roof yet. But the stone was thick enough to block sparks. Men followed, dragging water barrels, wet blankets, tools. I grabbed Tommy's arm when he ran up again, breathless. "You did good," I said. He nodded, eyes shining with smoke and something else. Regret. Behind us, the fire reached Harlan's porch. Flames climbed the wood fast, like fingers running up a ladder. Harlan jumped off his horse and tried to beat it down with a coat. It did nothing. The porch caught. Then the window frame. Then the roof. A loud cracking sound filled the air. Wood surrendering. Harlan stepped back. And for the first time since I knew him, he looked small. Very small. Sheriff Boone pulled him back. "Let it go." Harlan's voice broke. "That's my house." Boone looked at him hard. "And that's your family in Quinstone Walls?" Harlan froze. Then he ran to my place. Inside my half-built stone house, the air was smoky, but not blazing. Sparks hit the outside and died against rock. The stone did what stone does. It stood. I stood near the opening, watching the ridge burn. One house caught, then another. Wood travels flame fast. The wind was cruel that day. It pushed everything forward. But when the fire reached the edge of my stone walls, it slowed. It licked the rock. It tried to climb, but it could not bite. Men formed a line beside my house, using it as a shield, throwing water, beating sparks, digging earth, because the stone gave them a fighting chance. And then I heard Eli. He was coughing, running toward us. His own wooden house farther down the ridge had caught. Flames ran along his roof. He stopped a few feet from my wall. He looked at it, then at me. His face had no smile now, no pride, just fear. "Let us in," he said. Not loud, not bold, just human. For a split second, anger flared in me. This was the man who laid ash on my land. The man who tried to make me look mad. The man who thought he could scare me into buying his pine. If I turned him away, no one would blame me. He had tried to ruin me, and now his house burned. The choice stood right there, like a gate, open or closed. Tommy looked at me, eyes wide. "Miss Mara, I saw the boy first, then the man behind him, and I remembered something from years ago. Before Luke died, before this ridge knew my name, Luke had told me one thing about fire. He said, 'Fire doesn't care about your reasons. It only cares about fuel. If I let anger be fuel, the fire would win twice.' I stepped aside. 'Get in,' I said. Eli stared at me like he didn't understand. 'Now!' I snapped. He moved, him and 2 of his workers. They rushed inside the stone walls. More men joined the line outside. using the rock as cover while they fought the flames. Hours passed. The sun dimmed behind smoke. The roar became a lower growl. And slowly, the fire lost its hunger. There was nothing left to eat on the ridge. Wood homes were black skeletons. Porches gone. Fences down. Eli's sawmill shed ash. Harlan's house gone. But my stone ranch house still stood. Not finished. Not pretty. But standing. When the last flames died and the smoke thinned, the ridge was quiet. Too quiet. People stepped out from behind my walls and stared at what was left. Charred ground. Twisted metal. Black beams. Harlan walked to where his house had been. He sank to his knees. No words. Just silence. Eli stood near me. For once, he didn't touch the dirt. His hands hung still. Sheriff Boone walked up slow. He looked at the ash trail still visible across my yard, then at the burn patterns, then at Eli. Boone said, calm but heavy, "Funny how this fire started on Quinland, but the wind was blowing from your side last night, Eli." Eli's jaw tightened. Boone continued, "Tommy told me you were out here with a lantern." Silence. No laugh now. No easy words. Eli looked at the black ground, then at the ruined ridge, and something inside him cracked. "I just wanted to scare her," he muttered. The words were small, ugly, but it got away from me. Harlan turned fast. "You what?" Eli's voice broke. "I laid a little ash, a spark, just to make smoke, to prove her stones wouldn't matter." Harlan lunged, but Boone stopped him. The truth hung in the air heavier than smoke. I felt something strange. Not victory, not joy, just tired, very tired. Sheriff Boone put a hand on Eli's shoulder. "You'll answer for it." Eli didn't fight. He just looked at my stone walls, at the women and children standing safe behind them. And I saw it then, the moment everything changed, not just for me, for all of us. Harlan stood and walked toward me slowly. He stopped a few feet away. He cleared his throat. "Mara, I called you crazy." I nodded. "I said you were trying to shame us." I nodded again. He looked back at the burned ridge, then at my standing walls. "You were trying to save yourself," he said quietly. "And maybe us too." I swallowed, because here was the thing I never told them. The thing I had carried alone. I finally said it out loud. "When I was 12, I began, voice steady, "my family lost everything in a wildfire. Our woodhouse went up in minutes. My father didn't make it out." The ridge went silent. "That's why I built stone," I said. "Not to shame you, not to be better, but because I know what fire can do." No one spoke for a long time. Then Harlan said, "We're rebuilding." He looked at the ruins. "And this time, we're using rock." A slow murmur moved through the people. Not anger, not pride. Agreement. Sheriff Boone nodded once. Eli stood there, ash on his boots, shame in his eyes. And I looked at my half-built house, the fireproof stone ranch house. It had been mocked. It had been tested. And it had stood. I wasn't alone anymore. Not because the ridge loved me, but because they understood. And sometimes, understanding is stronger than wood. The wind that evening was softer. It moved through blackened beams and cooled stones. And for the first time since Luke died, I felt something close to peace. Not because nothing burned, but because what mattered did not. The end.